He had surgery yesterday. He's not expected to need additional surgery for his knee. He has an ACL tear along with other damage. He'll rehab. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, who does have a reputation at times for being excessively optimistic, told Adam Schefter yesterday that the goal is to play in 2026. And hopefully that'll happen. My first thought when I saw the gruesome moment on Monday night was he's done. Not done for the year. He's done. That's what I thought. If he can come back by 2026, what a victory that would be for modern science and for the relentlessness that is required to properly rehabilitate one of these injuries, because we don't see it. The work that goes on behind the scenes. This is one of the reasons that I will forever admire the men who play professional football. And by the way, big show dedicated to the men who have played and are playing the greatest sport on the planet, professional football, because you spend hours, you spend days, you spend weeks, you spend months getting your body in position where it can go out into the fray, knowing that there is a very high likelihood something's going to happen that's going to force you to do it all over again. And then you quietly, away from the crowd, away from the spotlight, away from the cameras, away from anything, stuffed into a locker of anonymity, you have to work and work and work and sweat and hurt and strive to rehabilitate your injury. For what? The opportunity to go back out there and possibly do it again. So that's where Tyreek Hill currently is. And based upon the work ethic we've seen from him since he entered the league, I don't doubt his ability, his willingness, and ultimately his effectiveness when it comes to getting himself ready to go. There is an interesting wrinkle. I wrote about this last night, financially. Next year's the last year of his contract with the Dolphins. See, I thought he was going to be traded before the deadline. And if healthy, he very well might have been. Because next year, and let's just assume the alternate universe where he's still healthy. We get through the 2025 season. Here comes 26, $36 million in total compensation for Tyreek Hill. They will cut him. They will cut him. That was coming. They weren't going to pay him $36 million for the last year of his contract at age 32. It wasn't going to happen. Now, what do? Well, here's the reality. He's got no guarantees right now for 2026. The third day of the league year in March, $11 million of salary becomes fully guaranteed. $5 million roster bonus becomes payable. That's $16 million. If he's on the roster the third day of March, $16 million. But they have an out. They can cut him before then and they won't owe him anything. Now, he'll have some potential compensation under the CBA if he can't play next year. But if the goal is to play next year, he'll become a free agent. And if he's healthy, someone will take a chance on him. But there's $16 million that the Dolphins will surely look to avoid. $16 million with another $20 million for a guy who now, and when you see a player with this kind of injury, typically you get a one-year deal, a one-year prove-it deal to prove you're healthy, to prove you're back. Or sometimes what it'll be is a multi-year deal with a team option for the second year. I remember when Drew Brees signed with the Saints. It was a 6-year, $60 million deal, which was a massive contract at the time, 2006. But it was 1 year, and after that 1 year, the Saints held all the cards for continuing the deal. And if it didn't work out, they would have moved on from Drew Brees, period. Obviously, it worked out. That's the kind of contract Tyreek Hill will get from another team if and when they cut him. So unless the two sides have some burst of sentimentality and the aftermath of the injury causes them to appreciate each other, and Tyreek Hill realizes he doesn't want to play for anyone but the Dolphins, and the Dolphins realize they want to be the team for which he has his redemption from that awful injury that happened on what looked to be a pretty awful playing surface in Miami, because even though grass is better than turf, bad grass still sucks. That said, unless they work out some sort of other deal that is a win-win, he'll be cut and he'll be a free agent, and we'll see where he lands in 2026. The other quirk here, someone pointed this out to me last night, and I confirmed that it's accurate. Hill has $1.8 million in per game roster bonuses for this year. Basically, you divide that by 17. You get a check for every game that you're on the active roster in the amount of $1.8 million divided by 17, a little over $100,000 per game that you suit up and are at least on the sideline. And if you're a player like Tyreek Hill in the game, his per game roster bonus is fully guaranteed. And we see that more and more now. It allows you to pump up the amount of full guarantees that get broadcast to the world so the deal looks better than it is. But you still have to earn it. And even though it's fully guaranteed, if you don't earn it because you're injured, you don't get it. The only way you get it is if you get cut. So, in a weird sort of way, the remaining $1.376 million, I already did the math. I'm not a savant in that regard, or any. He gets the remaining $1.376 million if they cut him today. That's the only way to get it. If they keep him on the roster, he doesn't get it. He gets nothing for the balance of the year. He gets cut before March 3rd. It's $16.376 million in financial consequences for Tyreek Hill because of this injury, because of the way the contract was structured. The guarantees evaporate after this year, and the guaranteed per game roster bonus requires him to actually be on the game day roster. Now, if they choose, they could give him the $1.376 million, and maybe that would be a nice gesture. Classy move. Maybe they should. It's a weird donut hole where it's in his interests financially to be cut. And the Dolphins would still have to pay for his rehab. It just wouldn't happen at their facility. But it is in his interest to get cut. And hopefully that will be the impetus for something where they'll just write him the check. I mean, come on, Steve Ross. We know you got it. We know you're good for it. He was going to make it anyway, and he suffered a gruesome injury on a field that you put your players on that is substandard. How do we know? Well, his foot got stuck in it, and it caused his knee to dislocate when the force is otherwise being applied to his muscles and his bones and his ligaments and tendons caused his knee to rip apart. And if we couldn't tell by that, look at the big swath of sod down the middle of the field. It looked rough. Isn't it funny how I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I don't care. How many times do you watch a game broadcast and the field looks like crap and the broadcasters don't point out what we all see? Now, I don't know whether or not the crew on Monday night at any point may have mentioned that the field looked like crap because 2 games on at once. Thank you very little. But I just think that we should call it what it is. Grass is better than turf, but that doesn't mean crappy grass where you have, and I looked this up, there are already 4 University of Miami games on that field this year. This was game number 6 in a month. And you saw that they resodded the middle of the field. Well, maybe they should have just tore the whole thing up. Maybe they should just do better when it comes to the grass field. And I don't want to hear about, they have a pretty pristine grass field in Green Bay all year long. They figured it out there, and they'll figure it out for FIFA. That's what Matthew Stafford said recently. Matthew Stafford, who rarely says anything. He's played on artificial turf his entire career on the Let's Go podcast that he's involved with this year. And I was surprised he did it because, like, Matthew Stafford never says anything. No, he did. He said something. He strongly prefers grass. And it's not just because of injury, because the NFL says, well, the injury rates are inconclusive as to the difference between. Ask anybody that's played on grass and ask anybody that's played on turf. It's a different feeling when you roll out of bed the day after you play on turf. And that's all you need. So Gary's asking about insurance. It gets complicated. It depends upon the contract. There are different things that go into it. But the bottom line is rich people don't like to pay money they don't have to pay. One of the reasons you accumulate that much wealth is at some level you're a little bit cheap. You're a little bit careful. You're not going to give away $1.376 million when you don't have to. And Stephen Ross doesn't have to. We'll see if they give Tyreek Hill the money, because obviously that $1.376 million means a lot more to him than it does to Stephen Ross.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.